when the motivation is gone, it's about being consistent till the motivation comes back.
Leave me alone. Go out west. Give me your phone. Going out west. Leave me alone.
What's going on, everybody? It's that ordinary podcaster with the extraordinary thoughts that tells you to stop being great and be extraordinary. I'm Demetrius Thickman, also known as Meech Speaks, and welcome back to another episode of Talkin Crazy. Let's go ahead and get started with today's episode. Good morning, everybody, man. I'm blessed. You know what I mean? Like I'm definitely blessed. You feel me? And I'm gonna just be completely honest with everybody. Like, am I the only one that feels like this year just kind of just came out of nowhere? You know what I mean? Like, here we are already in December. You know what I mean? Christmas already next week. Like, god damn. Like, we really is in the last month of the year. And it's so crazy to me. And, you know, as I sat back, man, like I really want to just say that this year has been really good to me. Like, this year has truly been good to me. I've been able to find my purpose in a way that I can honestly say that I didn't feel like I had last year. You know, being able to know exactly what I'm talking about, who I'm talking to, how I want to show up has definitely brought a lot of clarity. I would say that this year has brought a lot of clarity for me. And the one thing that I have been very clear on, or let me rephrase, has been very crystal clear for me, is the fact that some people just don't want to change. You know what I mean? And I'm going to just be completely honest with you. Some people are just okay with where their life is going, how the situation is, what their environment is, the people that they have around them. They're just okay with that. They don't want nothing more. They don't want nothing less. They have now put roots in and have settled in this state of life. And to be honest with you, that's okay. And it took me a very long time, bro. Like, it really took me such a long time to finally make peace with everybody just ain't meant to change. You know what I mean? Everybody just ain't meant to invoke some type of change within their community, within their circle, within their lives. Like, people just ain't meant for change. Let me rephrase. Some people just ain't meant for change, bro, and that's okay. Like, when they say, like, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, they really mean it. And I used to, oh my God, man, like, I used to pull my hair out trying to figure out why is it so hard for people to make a change for the better in their lives. You know, I used to get so upset with people when I used to see them and say to myself, like, damn, like, you okay with this? You know what I mean? Like, you okay with living like this? I used to get so upset, man, when I used to see people in relationships get dogged out in a relationship. You know what I'm talking about? And then I would say to them, like, don't you want something better? Like, don't you want a partner that's going to treat you better? And they would give me all type of excuses, whether that's about the environment, whether that's about the community, whether that's about the circle, whether that's about their partner. And at some point, bro, I just had to make peace with it. I had to make peace with it. And I'll be the first one to tell you that if you don't learn to make peace with certain things, that shit will drive you crazy. And when I say it will drive you crazy, I remember I used to be arguing with people. You know what I mean? Arguing under my comments, bro. And one thing about me, you go low, I'm going to hell. And I used to be in hell with people, arguing with them about why they didn't make a change, why they didn't do better, why they didn't want to see something good in their life, why they don't want to help out. And then it just finally hit me that this just ain't for everybody. And when the moment I realized that, man, like the moment that I realized that, I stopped. Honestly, even right now, man, like I get a bullshit comment under one of my posts, and if I read it, though, I just won't even respond. You know what I mean? Like, especially if it's one of those dead end comments that says, that's just how life is. That's just how your life is. You know, that's just how your life is. Oh, that's just nothing is gonna change. That's been like that since, forever. Hey, that's your reality. You know what I mean? Like, that's your reality. That's your perspective. And one thing that I had to learn, bro, is that Other people's perspective of you is not your reality. And I'll say that one again. Other people's perspective of you is not your reality. And I even break that down even further. If somebody told you that you wasn't going to be shit, is you really just going to take their word for it and not amount to anything? You know what I mean? Like imagine like telling somebody like, man, I ain't really amount to anything because somebody once upon a time told me that I wasn't going to be shit. So I kind of just took that personal, and I kind of just sat with that. I kind of just didn't amount to anything. I remember, and I remember when I was a junior Marine. I had a sergeant that told me that if you don't like the way things are going, then pick up rank and make a change for it. And I took that shit personal. I ain't even about to lie to you. I took that shit personal. And that's exactly what I ended up doing, making a change for the better. And to be honest with you, that's something that's kind of been inside me since I can remember. Like if I never really liked anything, I will always just look to try to make it better or look for something even better, And if I couldn't, then I would just change the thing that I have in front of me. I've always been like that. So with that being said, today's episode is all about change and the things that you got to understand right before you make that change. I feel like this is going to be a good episode, especially as we close out the year. Don't worry, I got a couple of more episodes for you, but let's go ahead and get into today's episode. All right, so first things first, I got 3 truths that I got to give you about change. And these truths, man, like these apply to your life, your community, your environment, your friends. This involves anything that you plan on making a change. You really got to understand this. And the first one that you really got to understand is that some people will try to deter you the moment that they see that you're starting to make a change for the better. And I'll say that again. Some people will literally try to deter you off your path if they see that you're trying to make a change for the better, especially if that change could potentially affect them. You know what I mean? Especially if that change is something that they gonna see on a regular basis. And when I say that it affects them, you probably got a partner in your life and they see that you starting to make a change for yourself. They gonna start to do things to try to get you to stay as the person that you are. Let me rephrase, to get you to stay as the version of you that they have access to. Say you trying to leave an environment that you realize is toxic. Everybody else, they okay with the situation. They gonna stay. But the moment that they see you trying to leave, they gonna do everything in their power to try to deter you off the path. They gonna say shit like, well, it ain't that bad. You ain't gonna find nothing better. The grass ain't always greener on the other side. That's a lie now, because the grass is as green as wherever I water it at. And if I don't like the place that I'm at right now, I'm gonna leave. And I say that, man, and I bet you wondering why somebody would try to deter you, especially if they loved ones, because they are comfortable with where they're at. And I know that kind of sounds like real cliche-ish, but this is their normal. You know what I mean? Especially if people are used to a toxic environment, and a toxic environment ain't always at your workplace. It could be where your upbringing is. I use mine as an example, Detroit, Michigan. There were so many people that were just like, why you want to leave? This where your family at. This where you grew up at. And I said, look around. Why wouldn't I want to fucking leave? What's there for us? You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck is there for us? And a lot of the people didn't like that. They didn't like that answer. And rather than uplift me with it, you know what I mean? They would always bring up, hey, the military ain't going to be for you. Don't join the military, but they ain't give me no other options. So I will tell you that the first thing that you got to understand, especially when we talk about change, is that people will try to deter you because this is their normal. You about to disrupt somebody's normal. They about to see you evolving, and that may not be a thing that everybody want to see just yet. They might see you starting to, cause a little ruckus around you right now, and they may not want to experience that. They just want to coast on by. You know what I mean? Go with the stream. And when they see you going against the grain, that just doesn't sit right with them. Now, the next one, and this one kind of just correlates to what I just said, but you can't make everybody else change. And I'll say that again. You can't force other people to change. See, the thing is that change got to come from within. You know what I mean? You may get the vision, but other people ain't gonna get it like you do. You may understand something, but other people ain't gonna understand it the way that you do. And I promise you, you gonna drive yourself crazy. I'll say that again. You gonna drive yourself crazy trying to get someone else to change with you or to change for you. If they don't want to change, I can't stress this enough. If they don't want to change, then they not going to change. This may be something as small as trying to get somebody to go to the gym with you. If they don't want to go to the gym with you, then guess what? They not going. You know what I mean? You want them to lose weight, look healthy. They don't see that. They don't see that problem about themselves. You may see it. You feel me? And I say that because a lot of times, man, we see a problem in something that everybody else has grown to accept. And when you have grown to accept the problem, let me rephrase, when they have grown to accept the problem, then they're just going to learn to work around it. Let me rephrase, their lives have gotten used to that problem, so they have learned to work around it. So it could be something as small as trying to get them to go to the gym. It could be something as big as trying to get somebody to do right by you or to respect your boundaries. If they don't want to change, then you got to understand that they don't want to change. You know what I mean? If you in an environment and everybody else don't see the problem with the situation, but you know for a fact that this shit is a problem, that this shit is detrimental to the health of everyone around you, that this shit is causing the morale to go down, that this shit is not healthy, but everybody else, then you got to make peace with everybody else ain't going to see it until you start bringing it up. You feel me? And start making progress towards it. That's really it, man. Even when you do bring it up, you know what I mean? Like, even when you bring it up, they gonna look at you kind of crazy, like, I don't see no issue. You just causing problems. You just making trouble. This ain't good enough for you. Then go somewhere else. And that's okay, because that's exactly where you're about to go, somewhere else. So for those who are just now listening and you starting to invoke that change, or you probably got that New Year's resolution in the chute, you know what I'm talking about, ready to fire down range on December 31st, just understand that if you about to make a change within your life, depending on what that change is, you about to spend a couple of months by yourself. You about to spend a couple of months by yourself. And I know that ain't gonna sit right with a lot of people, because being alone, right? Like, that idea of being alone is very harsh for some people. A lot of people ain't used to being alone. A lot of people can't handle being alone. A lot of people can't handle missing out on events. A lot of people can't handle being excluded from things. But the version of you needs this. You feel me? The version of you is dependent on this. Hell, the change might even be bigger than you. You know what I mean? The future may need you. The next generation may need you. The overall may need you. And I really need a lot of people to understand that. Because you gonna stress yourself out trying to get everybody else to change with you, even though it's working for you. Some people, this just ain't for them. And this ain't for them. Now, the last one, and this one right here, and I love the fact that they just bounced off of each other, but the last one, and this one right here, man, you got to understand this. Change got to start with you. Just like you can't force somebody to change, man, like, the change really got to start within you. You can point people in the right direction. You can point yourself in the right direction. But if the change don't start within you first, it will always fall apart. It will always fall apart. If you see something on TV and you just think that it's a good idea, but you don't wholeheartedly believe in it, you know what I mean? And I really need a lot of people to understand that you really got to believe in the shit that you doing. You really do. Because when that adversity kick in, you know what I mean? When that loneliness kick in, when that, hey man, I can't really fuck with you because you acting different kick in, because it will. It will. If this shit ain't in you, you gonna revert back to who you were. You gonna give up on it. You gonna say shit like, as, you know what, maybe everybody was right. I'll be lying to you right now. God, come on now. I'll be lying to you. If during these transformations, when I decided to get my shit together, I lost so many people along the way. People that I thought that was gonna be in my life for years stopped fucking with me. And they stopped fucking with me because I didn't want to deal with the same habits that they were doing. I didn't want to do the things that they was doing anymore. I didn't want to sit around and drink and complain about a reality that I could fucking change. And when I started to get my shit together, when I started to get my shit together, I started losing everybody. But the one person I didn't lose was myself, because it started within me. And that's who you gonna have to rely on a lot during this transformation, during this season of change, during these moments when it feels like nobody else is there. You gotta be the one that's there. On them tough days, and it could be as small as going to the gym. On them tough days where you feel like your body's sore, you really don't want to mean it. You really don't want to go there. You gotta be there. You know what I mean? Like, you really gotta be there. On them days where you feel like you want to quit, if the change didn't start within you first, like it wasn't a seed within you first, I promise you, man, you gonna quit. Now, as we come to a close to this episode, man, like, one thing that I really just gotta say is that as we sit back and we talk about change and the things that we gotta know about change, but the one thing that you gotta understand about change is why you making the change. You feel me? Like, you really gotta sit back and ask yourself, why am I doing this? See, a lot of people don't ask themselves why, and they immediately jump into it. And then when shit get rough, that's when they want to ask themselves why. See, I asked myself why a long time ago. Way before I even took my first step, I had to convince myself that the step was worth it. And that's something that a lot of people gonna have to do. You know what I mean? Like, the moment that you say that you want to make a change, bro, you got to convince yourself, and you got to ask yourself, why do I want to do this? Because I'm pretty sure a lot of people have heard me say it, and I know you've heard other people say it, but if your why ain't bigger than your what, I promise you, you gonna fucking crumble. Like, if your why, you feel me? Like, if the why ain't bigger than the what, you gonna fall apart when the adversity hits you. When the pressure creep up on you and it start to feel like it's crushing you, that's when you gonna fucking crumble, because your why wasn't bigger. You know, you got to ask yourself, ain't you tired of living like this? Don't you want to have something better? Don't you want to see better? Don't you want to feel better? Don't you want to be loved better? Don't you want to be respected? If you can't ask yourself these things, right? Like, if you can't ask yourself these things, then why you about to do it? You feel me? Like, why are you about to do it? Because a lot of times, man, like, we sit back and we think that change, bro, like, change is a good idea. Like, damn, man, I love to change. I love to have this. You ain't never asked yourself why would you want it. And the moment that you say that, man, like, I promise you, when you dissect the fucking question and find out your why, that's when you become unstoppable. I can't stress this one enough, man. Right before I decided to get my shit together, I had to ask myself, like, why do you want to get your shit together? Why? You doing great right now, and I'll be the first one to tell you, I was doing great where I was at. If I would have kept the path that I was keeping, I'd have still been good. You know, there was something that just wasn't sitting right with me. It wasn't sitting right with me. I had to ask myself, like, what the fuck am I going to do at the very end of this? Am I happy with what I'm leaving behind? Am I happy with the Marines that I got right now? Am I happy with the leader that I am right now? And to be honest with you, I wasn't. And then when I realized that, that's when I was like this, you got to get your shit together first. If you want to invoke change, it needs to be invoked within you. And the moment that you do that, right? The moment that you do that, that's when everything else is going to make sense. See, when you talk about change, bro, you really got to understand this. As you creep and crawl and you start to be able to walk and then you start to run, there's going to be moments where you're going to get knocked down. And life going to knock you down. It's going to make you feel like as if you ain't worthy. It's going to make you feel like you can't do it. It's going to make you feel like you going crazy. It's going to make you feel like you the only one that fucking gets it. But if you don't see the bigger picture in this shit, you feel me? Like, if you don't understand why it's so important that you continue, then you going to fall back into who you are. And as you start to develop this change, you feel me? Like, as you start to develop this change, eventually it's going to start becoming bigger than you. See, a lot of times what we need to understand is that it start off inside us. You feel me? That change starts off within us. Then we start to make the change for ourselves. Next thing you know, the change become bigger, bro. When I first started podcasting, I was just podcasting for me. You know what I mean? I was just podcasting just for the sake that I needed to get my voice out there as a speaker. Then I realized that I was dissecting my own problems and I started to heal a little bit. Next thing you know, somebody come up to me talking to me, telling me that the episode that I just pushed out, that shit really meant something to them. Now here I am speaking for my community, trying to invoke some type of change. Come on. Come on. You see what I'm saying? Like it started with me, but it got so much bigger. You sitting at your work environment right now, you know that it's full of shit. You know that your work environment full of shit right now, bro. Like, and if you sit back and you say to yourself right now that this is okay, you know damn well you'll be fucking lying. And yeah, they ain't gonna fucking rally against you. Yeah, they ain't gonna rally with you. You know what I mean? They ain't gonna rally with you. But the moment that you start to make a change and they start to see some type of progress, that shit gonna become bigger than you. Because then you're gonna end up doing it for the next generation. You realize that the lifestyle that you living right now ain't conducive to the thing that you want in your life. Let me rephrase that. The lifestyle that you have right now ain't gonna set your fucking kids up for success. Then you gonna start making a change. And when that change happen with you, it's gonna realize that it's gonna start happening for them as well. The biggest thing, man, like, is that change. Change is easy to say, but it's hard to do. And it ain't for everybody. But if it is for you, right? Like, if it is for you, then you got to start right now. And I promise you, man, like, if it ain't for you, you know, ain't no shame in that. But don't complain about your fucking life if you wasn't willing to change it. And just like that, another extraordinary thought left this ordinary mind. I hope you enjoyed this episode half as much as I enjoyed making it. Now, do me a favor, if you're on Apple or Spotify, don't forget to leave a 5-star review for this podcast. And lastly, hit that subscribe button because this podcast deserves to grow just as